hear a pin drop. There were 25 social workers in the room, and I just told them about my childhood experience of harm, abuse, and neglect. I was delivering safeguarding training. As I told them about my experiences, I connected it to the legislation. I explained how what I'd experienced worked into the acts and the categories from the Children's Act. I talked to them about how they could prevent somebody else experiencing what I'd experienced. I then engaged them in some conversation, and they shared with each other what worked for them and what didn't, and what they were struggling with. I then used my professional experience to talk about the times that I'd experienced compassion fatigue and vicarious trauma, and how that had impacted me. Throughout, everything that I was doing was connected to psychological theories. Using my personal experience and their passion and desire, I talked about adverse childhood experiences and the long-term impact. I talked about the importance of being trauma-informed in the way that you deliver services. And at the end of the training session, I said thank you for your service. I waved everybody out, and 3 delegates stood and waited for me. This isn't unusual, it happens at the end of a lot of training sessions. The first delegate was a newly qualified social worker. He came in and he said to me, Tammy, I was going to give my notice at the end of the week. I'm overworked, I'm overwhelmed, I don't feel like I'm making a difference. This job is not what I signed up for. I went to uni, I put my heart and soul into this, and I don't feel like I've got the right skills to really engage with the young people. And oh my gosh, parents are ringing me constantly, shouting at me because their kid is still on the waiting list. He thanked me for the practice examples, he thanked me for the time that he got to speak with his colleagues, and he thanked me for helping him recognise how the legislation is really relevant to his role. And he walked out planning his next working day. The second delegate came in slowly. She sat opposite me. She looked down at her feet and she took a deep breath. And she said to me, Tammy, I was harmed as a child too. That's why I wanted to become a social worker. That's why I do everything that I do. I want to prevent other people, especially children, experiencing the pain I experienced. I've been doing this for 15 years, but right now I'm scared. I'm scared because all of my empathy is gone. I'm making decisions with no thought. I snapped at a young mum last week for being a couple of minutes late for an appointment, and she left in tears. 15 years I've been a social worker, and nobody ever told me about compassion fatigue or vicarious trauma. Please, can you send me some more information? She then told me that straight after work, she was going to make a doctor's appointment. The third delegate bounced into the room. She came in, shoulders back, huge smile on her face, and she said to me, I've been a social worker for 25 years, and I've been on safeguarding training 24 times. Year after year, same old. Do you know, she said, I just turn up, it's mandatory training, I've got no choice, I've got to be here, and I expect to chill out. She said, in fact, today, you've ruined my day because I was going to do my shopping list. She said, you've kept me engaged throughout this entire session. She said, I've shared my examples and my experience with other people in the room, particularly the newly qualified people. I've loved that. She said, more than that though, she said, you have reminded me why I do what I do. She said, yes, this is hard, really hard in the current climate, but actually I'm doing this because I want to change lives. you have motivated me, you have inspired me, and for that I am truly, truly grateful. Now this isn't unusual. This happens after most training sessions. On your table in front of you, what you should also see is one of these. So this is a bracelet, but it's also a tool for accelerated learning, and it helps you to stay engaged and retain information. The third delegate really appreciated those. What I've just explained to you is values-led quality training. Training that absolutely values the people in the room. Training that thanks them for the work that they're doing. Training that teaches them the skills, the morals and the values to really work with the people accessing their services in an equal and equitable way. A safe space, somewhere that they can be invested in, and recognising the power that they have. Values-led quality training, I believe, can transform lives. Values-led quality training, I believe, can revolutionise our public services. Now, I will introduce myself. So my name is Tammy Banks, and I am hugely passionate about our public services. And I keep talking about public services. So let me just tell you, when I'm talking about them, I mean police, probation, local authorities, teachers, NHS, charity workers. I've been so fortunate to work in this area for the last 20 years, and I believe that they are the fabric of our country, the absolute fabric. And I am so grateful when I look around the world today, in the midst of all of the crisis, I am so grateful that we still have access to these services. However, I'm not naive. I know that they're struggling, really, really struggling. I've seen some of the harm that has been caused. I've seen the panoramas. I've seen the instances on the news. I've accessed public services as a child, but also as an adult. My children have had some brilliant teachers and some not so good. I've worked and waited on long NHS waiting lists, only to then be turned away by the newly qualified person who's the one on reception where I finally get an appointment. So I'm not naive. I know these services are struggling at the moment, and I know something needs to change. Did you know that at the moment, turnover in public services is the highest it's ever been? 44% in social care. Skills for Care reported that in 22. Did you know that charity workers, 32% of them, talk about anxiety and depression that they're experiencing? Did you know that it's so bad that the NHS trusts went and reported to the House of Commons Health Committee? 92% of the NHS trusts are worried about the mental health of the people working within there. Now, when I'm talking about public services, I'm talking here in broad stretch, but actually let's make it a little bit more real. I am talking about me and you. Some of you in this room will work within public services, either now or historically. Some of you, your parents will have done. All of you will be accessing public services. We have a crisis at the moment, and we need to do something about it. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't think values-led quality training can solve all of the problems. Wouldn't it be nice? There needs to be some bigger changes. There needs to be some policy changes. There needs to be funding changes. And I would argue that actually some whole systems need to change. But that takes months, years, even decades. And although that work has to happen, right now, what I'm talking about is what can we do today? What can we do near immediately? Now, there's two relevant things within all public services, and that is that people generally work for them because they care. It's a vocation. My 20 years in the service has allowed me to meet many, many amazing people. They are there to make a difference, and the external pressures can really make that difficult for them. The second thing is, and if you've ever worked in public services, you'll know that you have to attend mandatory training. The assurers and the commissioners, Care Quality Commission, Ofsted, Ministry of Justice insist upon that, rightly so. So irrelevant of what's going on in the bigger picture, a few days a year you have to go on this mandatory training. Unfortunately though, within public services, and actually within training as a whole, there's a real bad reputation now. People talk about training that is lacklustre. They talk about training that is boring, it's not engaging, it's not relatable to them, and it's certainly not values-led in delivery. What a waste of time, money and opportunity. What a waste. Values-led quality training can transform lives. Values-led quality training is not difficult. Values-led quality training just takes some time to think about, to prepare. Let's make the most of every single second, because we can do this right now. I told you a little bit about my childhood. I've told you a little bit about my 20 years working within service. I've also had the absolute privilege for the last 7 years of developing and running a training company that delivers training to public services. So I'm in quite a unique position to spot such a simple solution. Within the training organisation, we have nearly 70 facilitators who are absolutely amazing. I wouldn't be up here and I wouldn't be saying what I'm saying and I wouldn't know what I know if it wasn't for them. They have all been on our Train the Trainer and they all deliver values-led quality training. They make that difference. The delegates who have been on their sessions, in a recent evaluation, 88% said that they felt better, more motivated and more well in themselves from attending their session. 72% said that their morals, their values and the way they work with service users has been greatly more positive and inclusive because of the values-led training. 100% said the fact that somebody with either connected personal expertise or connected professional expertise made sure that they learnt the skills in a way that were really relatable and they could put into practice the very next day. Training is happening every day within public services. This is a change that we could make quite simply. Skills for Care in 2022 said that 94% of the people in public services that they went and spoke to said that good quality training impacts whether they're retained in a role. Come on, this is not rocket science. Every pound that is wasted on training in public services is your taxpayers' pound or mine. Every frontline worker, every amazing teacher or amazing social worker or amazing police officer that burns out and leaves the profession is you or me. Every person who is in need, who needs to access public services, but is on a really long waiting list, or they get there and they're not treated very well, is your family or mine. I believe fundamentally that we can do something about this. I believe we could do something that costs no more time. We're not asking for any more time. We're not asking for any more money. I believe that values-led quality training can transform lives. It can transform the lives of the people attending, our frontline professionals. It can transform the lives of the people that they're working with in a more morally available, values-led, impactful way. It has a ripple effect out in the country. We're talking about our society here. I believe values-led quality training can change organisations' culture. I believe that it has the power to make the difference. And I've seen that happen thousands and thousands and thousands of times. I think public services should insist on values-led quality training. I think they should recognise the difference that it makes and see it as a solution, and insist that anybody that delivers for their organisations are trained to deliver that way. Because we're talking about me, we're talking about you, and we're talking about generations to come. This is such a simple solution. Thank you.